Hi everyone, and welcome to this podcast prepared by the Office of Academic Planning. I'm Leslie Gordon, Associate Director for Assessment. The goal of this podcast is to provide a quick explanation of the cycle of learning outcomes assessment reporting. While the content of this podcast is designed to be useful to you at any time that you need a refresher on the cycle, you may find it particularly useful if your academic program or programs are coming up for an evaluation with your 7-year program review. In fact, we will begin our podcast there with the program review cycle. Program review occurs on a 7-year cycle. For learning outcomes reporting, we want to examine the years between program reviews, and here these are shown as years 1 through 6. Learning outcomes assessment reporting begins in year 1 with the brief report, which is repeated in year 2. In year 3, a full report is submitted, and this report should draw on the brief reports that you submitted in years 1 and 2, and in addition, should report on anything not previously discussed in those brief reports. In a few moments, I will discuss with you the content of the brief and full reports. The remaining years in the cycle, years 4, 5, and 6, repeat the brief and full reporting just described. The goal of the full cycle is to arrive at the 7th year program review with roughly 6 years of learning outcomes assessment evidence collected and analyzed, and plans for improvement also included in your reporting. Following the cycle in this way is beneficial for a few reasons. First, it allows for consistency in outcomes assessment. And consistency will allow your faculty to see more clearly the patterns that emerge with regard to your students' attainment of the learning outcomes. In addition, several years of evidence will be more helpful when it is time for your program's learning outcomes assessment to be evaluated at the time of your next program review. The goal of that evaluation is to provide feedback to your program and suggestions for improvement, both of which are more easily accomplished if reporting is consistent. So let me now take a few minutes to describe the content of the brief and full reports I've referenced. The brief report is a 1 to 2 page description of the assessment activity accomplished in the preceding year. Depending on the nature of your program's outcomes and the timeline of your assessment plan, you may wish to report on the assessment of only some of your outcomes. For example, perhaps you use an assessment measure that you only administer on a staggered cycle, perhaps every other year. It may then be that you have not administered that measure in year 1, therefore perhaps you would report on it in year 2. The brief reports in years 1 and 2 become the building blocks for the full report in year 3. The full report is then submitted in the 3rd year and should report on the assessment of all of your program's learning outcomes. As I mentioned before, while the brief reports may only cover the assessment of some of the outcomes, the full report should discuss all of your outcomes. And in addition, the full report should describe the other essential components of outcomes assessment, such as these: faculty involvement, for example, who defines the outcomes, who chooses the measures; faculty analysis of the evidence collected; and lastly, improvements planned or enacted. This is what we would call closing the loop in learning outcomes assessment. You analyze your evidence, determine what it tells you, and decide where you will go next. If you'd like to see some examples of both types of reports submitted from programs here at UGA, you can go to our website, and that's given here. Go to the Assessment tab and then look for Student Learning Outcomes Assessment. If you go to the Reporting and Review cycle and follow the links, you will see some examples from undergraduate and graduate programs here at UGA. There's an important distinction that should be made at this time. Undergraduate programs follow the full 6-year cycle that I've just described. So brief reports followed by full reports, and then that 3-year cycle is repeated. Graduate programs, however, only submit the full report every 3rd year. They do not submit brief reports. Therefore, they would go into a program review with 2 full reports submitted in years 3 and 6. And lastly, Please note that October 1st is the annual reporting deadline for all assessment reports, brief reports or full reports, undergraduate or graduate. Please mark this date on your calendar and also look for reminders that will be issued from our office in the late spring or early summer of every year. The final piece of information I want to give to you concerns how you upload your assessment reports. Learning Outcomes Assessment plans and also reports are archived in the academic planning system. Check with your department head or other faculty member to determine who has access to the system. And I would like to take just a moment to show you what the pages look like once you enter the system. So you enter with your UGA MyID and password. And then when you open the system, you'll find that it's organized by college. The next few slides I'm going to show you via screenshot, just to give you an idea of what you would find. You would find your college and your appropriate program. You would enter just by clicking on your program. And then once you're in, you'll see that the Student Learning Outcomes Assessment documents are listed by program. So undergraduate programs followed by graduate programs is typically the order. You find the program that you want to report on, you simply click on it, and then you'll see that your reports are listed by year. So whatever is already in the system is listed there. You see you have here a brief report for several years. If you want to submit a new report, you simply come down to the bottom, enter the year and the type of report, and it's cut off on this screen, but below this, at the very bottom, you would see a place where you would simply browse your directory and upload the report that you want to submit, and then click Upload. And then it goes into the academic planning system, and it's listed here with all the others that are already in the system. And again, this would be done on October 1st of each year. So one more time, let me just remind you that if you would like to see this information in another format, it's all given on our web page. Again, under the Assessment tab and Student Learning Outcomes Assessment, you'll find several links. And today we were talking about the reporting and review cycle. You can go there, see examples, click on a link that will take you directly to the academic planning system, and review the information I've shared with you here. Also, please know that you can contact me at any time if you have questions. Again, my name is Leslie Gordon. I'm the Associate Director for Assessment. You can contact me by email or by phone if you have questions. Thank you.